So let's now try and see whether or not it's possible for India to be the largest economy in the world at some point in the next few decades. We could do that by looking at a number of long-range forecasts that banks and consulting companies have created in the last few years. We'll then look at a particularly interesting long-range study that goes all the way out to 2100 by the Australian bank Westpac. Let's start with one of the best-known forecasts. That's Citigroup's Global Growth Generators report from 2011. This predicts that India will overtake the United States in PPP terms in the 2030s, so in about 15-20 years. That's just what China has done in the last year. But it goes on to say that India will go on to overtake China as the world's largest economy by 2050. HSBC, one of the other great international banks, published a World in 2050 report, which also predicts that India will grow faster than China over the coming decades. PwC consulting firm in 2013 also published a World in 2050 report and came to a similar conclusion. According to the PwC report, between 2011 and 2050, the US will grow 2.5 times, 2.5 times bigger. China's going to grow 4.7 times bigger. But India's going to grow 7.7 times. It's going to be significantly larger than it is today. What that means is that between 2015 and 2050, China's share of the world economy will increase by about 17%. India's will increase by 96%, or nearly double. Meanwhile, the United States will decrease by about 19%, and Europe's by a massive 30%. So you can really see how the economic centre of gravity is shifting eastwards. And that's exactly what the London School of Economics professor Danny Quah, he mapped out where the economic centre of gravity was on a map and how it shifted from northern India to the west, through the Mediterranean, out to the Atlantic in the middle of the 20th century, before moving backwards, and it's now somewhere over sort of Turkey, and it's going to eventually settle in the next couple of decades back where it was 2,000 years ago. But the study that I mentioned earlier, which I find the most intriguing, is the one commissioned by the US-Australia Alliance. Hugh Mackay from Westpac Bank considered 5 different scenarios for the world economy up to 2100, so throughout the 21st century. In 4 of those 5 scenarios, India becomes the largest economy in the world at some point. And in fact, in the most optimistic scenario, 30% of the world's economy by the end of this century is Indian. That would create a position of dominance in the world economy for India, similar to what America experienced in the 20th century and Britain in the 18th. There is no doubt that India has tremendous potential. The challenge is whether it will be able to achieve it. As we've seen, there is a pretty broad consensus amongst forecasters that the US, China and India are going to be the largest economies in the world and probably be of similar size to each other by the middle of the 21st century. Now, don't forget that we are as close to 2050 as we are to 1980. And if you're 20 years old studying at college today, you will probably be about your parents' age when India is the largest, if not close to being the largest economy in the world.
To watch more such videos, please subscribe to our channel now.